on, and I will silence everybody.
So I found this reading by Stephen Spender. Some of you may be familiar with it, called I Think Continually of Those. And again, he's pointing us to that sense that people who live spiritually, who begin to move the conditioned self out of the way, begin to shine with the light of the Spirit. So if you listen to the gist of my teachings, and I try to keep it as simple as possible, you're either closed or you're open. And if you're closed, you're going to get sick, physically ill, emotionally ill, spiritually ill. Every system works optimally when it's open. So the woundings of childhood closes, get us shut down, and then we need to go through the journey we're going through now. We ended last time with this is recovery. We're recovering that childlike sense of wonder and openness and living life without the filter of the conditioned brain. And I'll get to the how that relates to our talk today. So he's talking about the people who have made those journeys, like Jesus, like Buddha, like Martin Luther King, people who have charisma, who we can see the light, we can see the Spirit reflected the way they reflected. Each one of us is like a crystal. We're reflecting the same light, but we all reflect it a little bit differently. And so Spender says this: I think continually of those who were truly great, who from the womb remembered the soul's history, corridors of light, where the hours are suns, endless and singing, whose lovely ambition was that their lips, still touched with fire, should tell of the spirit clothed from head to foot in song, and who hoarded from the spring branches the desires falling across their bodies like blossoms. What is precious is never to forget the delight of the blood drawn from ageless springs, breaking through rocks in worlds before our earth. Never to deny its pleasure in the simple morning light, nor its grave evening demands for love. Never to allow gradually the traffic to smother with noise and fog the flowering of the spirit. Near the snow, near the sun, in the highest fields, see how these names are fetid by the waving grass and by the streamers of white cloud and whispers of wind in the listening sky. The names of those who in their lives fought for life, who wore at their hearts the fire's center. Born of the sun, they traveled a short while towards the sun, and left the vivid air signed with their honor. Phew. So the work we're doing, if you ever lose heart, that's why we need these people to inspire us. The word inspire means to be in the spirit. The word enthusiasm, entheos, means to be in God. From time to time, we need to touch those people that have that living spiritual energy shining through them. This and connects us back to the source, that they're not something different from nature. Their nature in this glorious human incarnation. So, what has that got to do with today? Well, we've obviously been dealing with compassion in relationships, and what it is and what it isn't. And some of us have been surprised to find out that it doesn't mean trying to fix people. As a matter of fact, it means exactly the opposite. From the point of view of equanimity comes the understanding, yes, I see your pain, I resonate, my heart quivers with your pain, but I can't fix it. All right? Now, the second thing that we're going to layer on today in the lecture is that most of us mistake empathy and compassion. And the mistake is that we say, I feel your pain. And that's not an accurate statement, and it creates a lot of confusion. When another person talks, yes, you resonate emotionally. It's called limbic resonance. It's real. But the emotions that you're experiencing are your emotions. They're not yet coming from the other person. They're unresolved, unexpressed energies that are still in you. And it's one of the reasons that we get so upset when another person talks is I see that you're upset. That stirs a lot of upset in me. Then I want to fix it, but I turn towards you to fix it. But that's not your energy. That's my energy. So again, it's one of the reasons why we leave a person when we got a lot of energy going on, is we make the mistake of thinking that what I'm feeling is their energy. So I've got to leave or I've got them to shut down. No, that's your energy, your resonances, your brain responding to the energies that that person is expressing. Yeah, they're the occasion for it, but what's happening inside of me is mine. Um, so what do we do? The purpose of meditating is to get back to the calm part, the ventral part of our system, not the reactive part of our system. So when Jesus says, take the beam out of your own eye before you go to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye, what he's saying is, I'm trying to fix in you what's actually wrong in me. So we have this wonderful saying in AA, whenever we are upset, no matter what the cause, that's a pretty bold statement. No matter what the cause, there's something wrong with us. You want me to say that again? Whenever we are upset, no matter what the cause, there is something wrong with us. Now, don't read a moral statement in that, but it's saying it's your pain. It's your thing to deal with. So part of attaining equanimity is I empty myself of those emotions. So my first movement is never towards them. And you learn this. How many of you, as therapists, learn to watch out for putting your own emotions into the relationship? It's called countertransference, and you're taught not to do that. Okay, lay people are not taught that. That it's my emotion, my thing to deal with. So the purpose of meditation, one, begin to set that aside, and then sit with the person without those resonances. That's when genuine compassion begins to manifest. So she's going to do a great job today of telling us how to bypass empathy and move into compassion using equanimity. So,
Okay.
without further ado.
So for this lesson, she says true compassion implies boundaries, balance, stability, and clarity rather than over identification. Boundaries are not selfish. They can be a courageous expression of compassion for ourselves. Okay, so I might take me a minute to get the sound, the volume just right.
Lesson 8, Combining Compassion and Equanimity. Welcome back. The neuroscientist Tanya Singer, along with co-author Olga Klimecki, writes, in contrast to empathy, Compassion does not mean sharing the suffering of the other. Rather, it is characterized by feelings of warmth, concern, and care for the other, as well as a strong motivation to improve the other's well-being. Compassion is feeling for and not feeling with the other. Remember the description of compassion in Buddhist psychology: the quivering or trembling of the heart in response to seeing pain or suffering. It is a movement of the heart, a movement toward, to see if we can be of help. While the resonance, the empathy is essential, if we over-identify with the person or people hurting, the empathy turns into empathic distress, where our own discomfort ironically takes center stage. We collapse. We don't have the energy to move toward. True compassion is suffused with equanimity. True compassion implies boundaries, movement toward, not into, balance, compassion for all, including ourselves as well, stability rather than shakiness, and clarity rather than over-identification. As this kind of compassion develops further, it helps us to avoid burnout and fatigue by teaching us how to say no when we need to, learning to build boundaries. You come to know that having boundaries is a courageous act and can be empowering. Compassionate action is then imbued with wisdom, realizing what we can do, what we can't do, and what we cannot control. Over the long run, that clarity will build resilience. As part of today's teaching, let's do a guided meditation centered around these ideas. Some years ago, at the request of Roshi Joan Halifax, who founded a training program in contemplative end-of-life care, I wrote a loving kindness meditation especially for caregivers, in honor of their incredible work and in the hope of giving them support. This is an adaptation of that meditation. The phrases we use reflect the balance we seek. Choose one or two phrases that are personally meaningful to you. You can consider these options offered below. You can alter them in any way you like, or create others that have personal significance. To begin the practice, sit or lie down comfortably. As you listen to the audio recording, when I become silent, that is your signal to put into practice the guidance that I've just suggested. Take a few deep, soft breaths to let your body settle. Bring your attention to your breath and begin silently to say your chosen phrases over and over again, in rhythm with the breath. You can also experiment with restricting your attention to the phrases without using the anchor of the breath. Feel the meaning of what you are saying and let the practice carry you along. Here are some phrases. May I find the inner resources to be able to give to others and receive myself. May I remain peaceful and let go of expectations. May I offer love, knowing I can't control the course of life, suffering, or death. I care about your pain, yet cannot control it. I wish you happiness and peace, and know I cannot make your choices for you. May I see my limits compassionately, just as I view the limitations of others. May I see you as I wish to be seen, as big as life itself, so much more than your needs or your pain. You can choose one or two of these phrases and just gently repeat them, perhaps in coordination with the breath, perhaps just resting your attention on the phrases. You can feel the meaning of what you're saying, the practice carry you along. May I find the inner resources to be able to give to others and receive myself. May I remain peaceful and let go of expectations. May I offer love, knowing I can't control the course of life, suffering, or death. I care about your pain, yet cannot control it. I wish you happiness and peace, and know I cannot make your choices for you. May I see my limits compassionately, just as I view the limitations of others. May I see you as I wish to be seen, as big as life itself, so much more than your needs or your pain. As you repeat your chosen phrases, you may find your attention wandering or you might fall asleep. That's fine. There's no need to judge yourself or consider yourself a failure. See if you can recognize you've gotten distracted, gently let go, and just return your attention to the repetition of the phrases. You don't need to struggle to manufacture or fabricate a certain feeling or emotion. Just see if you can gather all of your attention behind one phrase at a time. No matter where your attention may wander to or for however long, always we can practice letting go and beginning again. When you feel ready, conclude the practice. This concludes today's lesson.
All right, sports fans. What y'all got? If somebody doesn't say something, I'm going to talk about LSU.
No,
You don't
you're
want
not.
that.
No, you're not.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Well, it seems like such an easy lesson, but it's so hard to implement. I get drawn in so much when I'm trying to deal with someone else, and I'm not drawn into them. I'm drawn into my projection of them, I guess.
Thank you. And that's why this equanimity, the movement to equanimity, then compassion. So, you know, feeling the empathy, which could create the agitation. And what did she call that? Empathic distress. Empathic distress. And to not act out of that distress, but rather out of the calm. And the clear seeing. I mean, we really can't see until we're in that place that opens up when we're ventral.
So many times in my own life, there have been times, especially I remember the very first time when I had to do what I knew was a skillful thing to do, although skillful wasn't my vocabulary at the time. But I knew I was doing what was the best thing for the other person and what was the best thing for me, although I knew the other person was going to be angry and in pain for my decision. And the fact is, once I hung up the phone, I was pretty angry and painful myself, but fortunately, one of the tools that helps a lot is to have that person you can call and they tell you it's okay to cry. It's very appropriate to cry, but you did the thing that had to be done. But it just isn't very comfortable, no matter how much you practice.
Yeah, these compassionate choices are difficult.
Yes, they are. And that's one of the reasons that we're practicing sitting to expand our capacity to integrate discomfort. So it's,
Right.
beginning to see that discomfort's not the enemy. And like you're saying, the distress of the other person or my distress is not the issue, particularly when the situation involves harm. Yeah, I have to be able to sit and do what has to be done, even if I'm uncomfortable and they're uncomfortable.
And often drawing boundaries does create discomfort.
Yes, it does. But and remember where that discomfort comes from. It's conditioned. I love these little things on Instagram, and I try to save them. I never can find them, of little kids telling you no. And the most recent one, this little girl's trying to eat, and obviously the mom is saying something. She's eating like this. She's not even looking at her. And then the hand goes like this. She's about 3 years old. Then it goes. And obviously mom is not receiving the boundary or honoring the boundary in any effective way, but she feels very comfortable saying no, and I love kids. That's what we call the warrior energy as opposed to the guardian. So warrior energy is stop, you're hurting me. There is a spiritual function. As a matter of fact, the Archangel Michael is dedicated to establishing boundaries. He stands at the Garden of Eden with a flaming sword and doesn't allow people to enter whose hearts aren't right. If you still fear the sword, you're not ready to enter in here. So it's letting go of ego, letting go of fear, you can go in. So those boundaries, we tend to think of anger as non-spiritual. Couldn't be farther from the truth. It's that we don't use anger in a skillful way. And that skillful way is stop, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting other people. We need to protect life. So it's never used. I mean, this is the warrior path. You're trained to use your skill for defense, not to attack, not in service of ego, always in service of the health of the whole. So why are we made to feel guilty for that? Don't you talk to me like that. Don't you hit me. Don't you get angry. You go to your room until you get over that. I mean, we're just constantly, as kids, having that warrior energy stripped away. It's the first thing that parents take away from their kids is that warrior energy, that natural defense of our spirit. So yeah, when we walk back through that door, we got to go through all that fear of telling mom and dad, don't treat me like that, or the school system, or the religious people, or the doctors, or whoever it was who ignored our boundaries. Does that make sense to people? So it's not your adult talking to another adult, it's your 3-year-old talking to your authority figure when you're setting your boundaries at first. And that authority figure may be your child.
When I was a young child, Drew and my mother, well, had some issues with anger, but she used to say to me particularly, you need to learn how to express your anger in a socially acceptable way. And I'd look at her and say, and what is that? Because when she got angry, it was fight or flight all the time.
Yeah.
So she didn't know. I'm sure she wished that she did.
Well, she knew the words.
She knew the words.
Of course, the lesson was for herself.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, good one.
You can sing the song, but can you dance the dance?
Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody else? So the hardest thing when in our caring committee in my church, I would train the people from a book called Caring. I think it was by Meyerhoff, and it said there's a huge difference between caretaking, having to prove that you care, and simply establishing a caring presence.
Mhm.
And people feel like that's not good enough. But if you've ever been the recipient of a genuinely caring presence, you'd know how profound it is. I can't tell you how many times people go, thank you for just listening to me and not trying to fix me.
Mhm.
Whoa. Whoa.
It's interesting to me, the two different names, care taking and care giving.
Yes, exactly. Very important distinction.
I do not want, well, there you go. There you go. Already.
Nice save.
How do you talk? without being attached. Well, in the whatever of taking the risk that this will turn, that this will open up a can of worms that I hope doesn't happen. Um, this, the mantra, may I offer love, even though I can't control everything. What came up to me was, people that I love and want their acceptance, part of my family or close group that I differ with politically. And then, that may I offer love part, when I'm thinking of those people, I'm in a totally different channel than when I'm in my political brain, thinking about how I differ with them politically, right?
Yes.
So it's just a totally different gear, totally different channel. And there's something else that helped me with that. And it was the phrase, do not seek truth, but cease to cherish opinions. And that really makes me back off to, like, oh, I just have an opinion. That's really all I have. And so may I just offer love for, in this season that we're in. And
Right.
yeah, that's it.
Right. And notice that we don't talk politics here. And there's a reason for that. And some of you are very uncomfortable with it, and that's good. But the reason why is if we stay at the level of pure awareness, we're going to be fine. And that's the level we need to retreat from. She even used one of the things to say that this person is not, when I look at you, I don't see your political beliefs. I'm not seeing your conditioned brain. I'm seeing you as large as
Larger than life.
as larger than life,
Yeah.
as large as I want to be seen.
Yes.
And Rumi says, out beyond ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. That's the only field we can meet in. As long as we're in the dualistic mind and we're saying this view is right and this view is wrong, we're in trouble. Okay. So coming back to learn to see through those non-discriminative eyes is fundamental. And the people who we have the most violent reactions to us are our greatest teacher. They're what we call a Satguru. Okay. How can I stay open? How can I stay present? How can I stay non-judgmental? I need to look at why I'm having such a violent reaction to what they're saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean,
Go ahead.
when I offer love, if that's my basis, then all that other shit just goes out the window. Like, it totally changes the whole perception for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe shift the phrasing. How do I talk? When I am loving, it shifts. Okay. So love is not something I have. That's like saying I have life force energy. No, I am that life force energy. And that's why the Buddhists over and over again say this is identity. Identity.
Or I feel love.
No,
No.
you are love. Okay. It's hard to get that across. The life force energy of the universe is compassionate. It is joyful. It is playful. It is that. How do we know? Because look at how it's manifest. It's manifest through things. You can't separate it out and say sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. No. That's your identity. So that's why we distinguish between your essence and the qualities of your brain. All right. So you are peace, love, and joy expressed through a conditioned brain. Does that make sense? but those qualities are always there. So the sun always shines, whether I see it or not. It's cloudy today. I know the sun's there. So it's more a matter of I'm not feeling my love right
Right,
now.
that's what I was trying.
Yeah, I'm not feeling my joy. It's being occluded by my constrictions. But it's important to understand what's creating the situation. So it's such a fundamental thing to start with. I am at my core totally okay. I am peace, love, and joy here. That's not something I have to create. That's the good news, folks. It's just something I have to uncover. It was there. I had it as a kid, got shut down. Now I'm reclaiming that birthright and understanding my true identity. So this really is, uh, it's so simple. We make it so complicated.
So I understood this morning when after we were talking, I was sitting that AA phrase of if something bothers you and someone else, there's something wrong with you. My
Yeah.
pushback against that was that whole word wrong. So
Right.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. And I just thought today, and I just replaced it with unbalanced. There's something out of balance in me. That's not that, that's not an attack word. To tell me there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, it's the one problem with that phrase. But again, it was written 70 years ago.
Right, right. But
So
putting it to out of balance for me.
Yeah.
Matthew,
Yeah.
would you please write in the chat room, There's Nothing Wrong with You by Sherry Huber. For those of you in Shreveport, a friend of mine just bought 8 copies of that, so I do have them available after a long period of not having them. This is a book that everyone should read. I think you can still order it off online. There's Nothing Wrong with You. And Sherry does a beautiful job of explaining why we feel that self-hate is a process. Again, we turn processes into nouns. Weather, it's not weather. There's no noun weather. There's a process weather, okay? Which can mean anything given on what's going on right now. So self-hate is my continual telling myself that what's going on is wrong, not acceptable. And of course, when we combine that with the Christian sense that if there's something wrong with me, something unacceptable, I'm not that Greek Platonic perfect version of what God wants us to be as human beings, I'm going to hell and I will suffer eternity. I mean, what a claustrophobic system. You're given one lifetime to figure out what your sin is and to correct it, or else you're going to spend eternity, not just a few years. Eternity is hard fucking time, with no chance of parole. The Hindus at least give you multiple lifetimes to get it straight. That's a little fantastic. I don't have to be in a big hurry right now, but that's why we're all such tight asses about getting perfect, and we don't even realize it. Folks, there isn't a clock running. No, if you die screwed up, you've created your own hell. We're not going to add on afterwards. That's not going to happen. So it's a question of how this ride is going to go, and sitting and beating yourself up the whole time is not exactly what Jesus said we were supposed to be doing, but his followers love us to embody that phrase, because then we become very controllable. People who know they are loved are very hard to control. Okay, anybody? Sorry. Okay, Lynn, we can't hear you.
Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you
Got
go.
it.
when I'm trying to put this in some process of also whenever that word or thought that you don't have to surround yourself with toxic people. You don't. And so when the boundary setting that we've talked about, is that where we look at we're being triggered by toxic people?
Okay.
Or do we have a compassion problem? You know,
Right.
I-
So let me tell you a story that comes out of a warrior tradition. I told it before. A samurai's warlord was assassinated by another warlord's ninja. And so he was honor bound to go and avenge that death and take out the other warlord. So he goes and finds the warlord in his meditation, and he taps him on the shoulder and says, "Stand and face me." And so the warlord stands and faces him and spits in his face. And the samurai puts his sword back in the sheath and walks out of the room.
good.
Okay. And one of the guards goes, "Why didn't you kill him while you had the chance?" And he said, "Because when he spit on me, he pissed me off." He said, "If I had killed him then, it would have been personal and not a matter of honor."
Okay. Okay.
So it's having that discipline when you realize this just got personal. And I'm about to act out of that. That's when we need to get ourselves out of the situation.
Ego.
Yep, ego.
That's ego. Okay, that's where that ego comes in so broadly.
Yeah.
Because that whole you get rid of toxic people, at least for me, well, we're all toxic for God's
At times.
sake, some way or the other.
At time. So when I say you are a toxic person, I've made an identity statement again
About me.
about them. All right. Just
Ow.
trying to meditate, saying, when I see you, I want to see you big. I want to see God in. I want you to see God in me. Oh my God, we're being attacked by munchkins. Hi.
Thank you.
Does that make sense? So it's when I lose that and start feeling you're toxic, I need to go back and get reframed. So I'll be talking to Linnell and I'll get into my trance and my "you always hate sugar, you are so cute, I'm going to eat you up with a spoon. Someone better get you off screen." So when and I'll say "you always" and "you never," and while I'm saying it, I'll think of 3 times when she actually did what I'm telling her she didn't do. But in the trance state, all of that's out the window, right?
Right.
So when we get even a little bit of witness consciousness in there, the whole picture begins to come up, and they quit being toxic people. They are sacred people who are expressing something that feels toxic to me right now. But they can turn around the next minute and be the sweetest, most generous, loving people in the world. And if I only treat them and label them, give them the identity, "you are toxic," I lose access to all that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, it brings me to the hospital. No, I mean that in the sense of me all of a sudden thinking that I am, how can I say this? I don't have the word, but what you just said, I went like, Tim, okay. That's the wall between you and the person that sometimes is coming in because you, Tim, think because you're standing behind the desk with some frigging thing called a laptop, that there is a, whether I know it or not,
Geez, I just typed.
I don't want to use the word judgment, but I just saw my picture really clear all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, step back, but step into at the same time.
Yeah. Step back and open. Yeah. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Step back and open.
Every day.
See more than
Wow.
just this particular issue that divides us. And that's the whole thing Martin Luther King taught is don't demonize this person in front of you.
Oh, there's one lens going. Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of the practice of loving kindness. And Sharon Salzberg calls it a stretch. You know, you do have to sort of stretch to receive people that you deem as difficult, or even a neutral person that walks in, for example, Tim, that you have no particular like or dislike for, maybe until they open their mouth. But it is a stretch to see that, you know, we're all in this together. We're all vulnerable. We all we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike.
Right.
Maya Angelou, you know?
Mhm.
And the thing
I-
you'll
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was gonna say, I know it's getting a little late, but in regard to that particular part of our lesson today, that we're all alike, and I see you as big as life itself. Yesterday we had our town hall. I live in a retirement community, most of you know, and I wanted to say something about the election year. And the essence of my message is that we're all in this together. We're all friends and neighbors, and we're together for the rest of our lives. Now, that has particular meaning here at our community, but in general, it means the same for all of us. We're all dependent on each other. And so my central message was no political election is going to change that.
Right. Yep.
Right.
So one of the things to take this out of the political arena and put it into a different one was with being a Unitarian minister. A lot of my people came out of fundamentalist families, and they had family members who were extremely distressed by the fact they were coming to a Unitarian church. So that conflict, how do I stay open to my family at the same time they are so critical and judgmental of what I'm doing? All right. And I said, think of it from their perspective. From their perspective, you are walking into a burning building.
You're a traitor.
No, not a traitor. You are putting your eternal life at risk by going there. And they are doing everything they can to save you from committing a fundamental spiritual error and inflicting tremendous harm on yourself. So all their efforts, no matter how misguided they seem to you, really are loving
From the heart.
concern for your well-being. And how can we stand back enough to receive the love? We're going to say in terms of boundaries and other people is receive the love and reject the control. All right. Love accepts your decisions, accepts your right to make your own mistakes, to live your life as you see fit. Abuse tries to control your choices. So again, part of the caretaking is when I feel that desire to make you different so I'm comfortable, and you see other people doing that, understand that's ego. Look past the ego, see the love behind it. And that's another one of those skills. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Can I say that in my life, sharing loving kindness with some people at a distance is the best.
What was
At
that?
a distance,
Yeah.
sharing loving kindness is.
I can be very loving towards them, but they are not someone who needs to be in my physical bit.
Continue,
And
but,
that's okay.
And that's okay.
and again, it's a matter of respect.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's a matter of harm. And I should not put myself in harm's way intentionally, unless it serves a greater good, like going to war. And I mean, this is so complicated that the Tibetan Buddhists, when the Chinese attacked Tibet, were split, and half the Buddhists fought, and half the Buddhists let themselves get slaughtered. Okay, what was the right answer? I don't know. Okay. But I can see that there's some fundamentally different responses to being attacked. So it's way beyond the scope of today. So we're going to pull ourselves out.
Are we getting deeper?
Right.
I'm tickling my tummy with my toes, my foot so far. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Good one, though. Right? Okay. Deep breath in.
What kind of fuckery is this? A fine mess we've gotten ourselves into now. Stanley. Oops, sorry about that, hon. X-rated, Julie.
I know. Sorry.
I know I'm not the first one to drop the F-bomb, so I'm not even going to apologize. Bye, sugar.
Oh,
Bye,
y'all have
everybody.
a great
Have
week.
a great Labor Day weekend. Today is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Lift up your hearts. We lift them up.
Art, I want you to know that I did listen to your dedicated Sangha. So I heard it.
You did good.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Love you, dear. Good to see you. Beautiful face.
We all need that lesson.
Well, I heard that too. I heard that too.